Hey, everybody, welcome to the Disc Golf Answerman Show. We are continuing with our marathon question answering. We have two special guests in the house, Tina Stanaitis and Paige Pierce.
We don't get nicknames?
Let's get started. Hey, everybody, this is Bobby Cool Daddy Slick Breeze. I have with me Paige. I totally went blank. I couldn't think of anything. Whale Sacks Head Pierce. She's got her Whale Sacks beanie on. And then we also have Tina missing her house, Stanaitis. Mm-hmm. She's getting some work done to her RV, and that's her house. And right before we started recording, we talked about how hectic things are trying to figure out what she needs for the next couple of days while she gets the wrap job on there. And but she looks like she's holding it together.
It's a good project.
Are you holding it together?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's Spout?
I'm faking it really well.
Where's Spout at?
She's in Shelby's basement.
Oh, okay. So
loving life, running around like a crazy animal.
I bet.
It's more space than she usually
more
has.
Space
so.
You don't know what to do with, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, like I said at the beginning, we are continuing with our little marathon disc golf answering. We have a lot of team players here. You know that Eric and Tina are here getting some things done. Paige is here visiting friends and helping things out with friends and getting some stuff done here at the warehouse. And I thought I'd grab the two ladies and do a Disc Golf Answerman show. How are you? We already talked with Tina to know how she's doing for the week.
Yeah, y'all are going to get sick of me.
I know. No. Paige, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, just in town, like you said, helping Beth and Shane. They're moving into their first home.
Yeah.
Probably this weekend. So we're just kind of finishing up painting and stuff like that. You know, my best friend getting our first house. I wanted to help out a little.
Of course.
And also worked well with the off week and signing session. So a little bit of everything while I'm here.
So how important is that to you ladies, to take like a week off for a time? And now I know you've got a kind of a special thing going, Tina, because you're trying to rest your injury, your shoulder, you know, so that you don't have a more permanent injury going on. But as far as like, you know, there's, you know, obviously the weekend, there's events to be played somewhere, but I think it's important to take time off. How important is that to you, though?
I used to not do it as much, and I think it drove me a little more crazy. And this is my 8th year on tour.
Yeah.
So I've learned like last year and, you know, so far this year that it definitely helps to just like kind of not only relax your body, but your mind as well. It's so chaotic. Every single shot has so much importance. So you put a lot of stress on yourself. So I think it's nice to just kind of sit back and kind of chill for a minute.
Now, your breaks are probably kind of a little different, though, Tina. You probably catch up on whale sack stuff.
Yeah, usually my breaks are catching up on work, so it's kind of constant. But I've tried to make a point more this year to adventure more and do some of the fun stuff that comes along with touring. We didn't do a lot of that last year until the end of the year, and it definitely wore me out. Waterfall trips and finding cool scenery and stuff like that. I think that's important to take advantage of those things because it's easy to get wrapped up in, you know, you play a tournament through Sunday and then travel days Monday and then you get there Tuesday, 2 practice days, and then you do it all over again and never stop. And if Eric had it his way, that's what we do. He doesn't mind golfing all the time, but I definitely need some time off.
Yeah. Now, Paige is still, Paige is taking time off. Like she mentioned, she's still doing some work. She did a signing session for some of her commemorative discs we have out. Looks like when I go online, if you go to dynamicdiscs.com/4x, we still have some of her commemorative discs left. And they should all be signed, right? Because you pre-signed a bunch of those.
Yeah. So the last few signing sessions we did, they were just very, very, very overwhelming, but in a great way.
Sure.
But it was a lot to get done live and also still be attentive and like answer questions. So we came in and on the weekend and signed them ahead of time, and that way we could get them in the awesome like new packaging that
like
you guys have.
Like
I don't know if you have a name for it, but
I don't know. I guess just a collector's box.
Yeah, there's like a backing with a sweet like DD logos and West Side and Latitude
certificate or something.
Yeah,
like
and
stamped.
a COA and it looks nice. So yeah, we did that ahead of time.
So the 2 discs commemorate Paige's 100th PDJ win. And then the other disc commemorates Paige Pierce becoming the highest rated female in disc golf history. So we should, hopefully by the time you listen to this, there should be some still left. I know they were flying out the door the other day. So cool stuff there. And we're also going to do another signing where you're going to sign some deputies. We're going to make those available for wholesale accounts.
Yes.
So if you have a pro shop and you carry our stuff, make sure you look out for a newsletter from our wholesale department to know about these deputies that Paige Pierce is going to pre-sign and have them sent out to stores for them to sell. So that should be good stuff. All right. What do you guys say we get to the questions? Sound good to you?
Okay.
Yep.
So I had an idea about creating a Facebook page for Disc Golf Answer Man. I did that. We put a bunch of videos out there. Devin used to work on the little individual questions of those videos. Now we've got Danny Lindahl working on those questions. And it opened up Messenger for people to send in questions, and it became a little too chaotic. So I've not accepting questions through Facebook, but we do have some leftover ones, and I thought we'd bust through those so that I can close out the messaging part of Facebook. I think it's awesome that you guys send questions, but I apologize that we get so far behind because, like right now, even after busting through with Eric and Tina, I still have like 98 questions on there. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have a lot of questions.
Let's talk really fast.
All right. So this one says, hey, this is from Garian. I'm the worst with names. Anyway, hey, Disc Golf Answer Man crew and guests, I've heard that if you have good form on your drive, the amount of energy and power on the disc will force it out of your hand. So my question is, when you are throwing a drive, are you supposed to be letting go of your grip on the disc toward the direction you want the disc to go, or line up your shot so that it is forced out of your hand by the energy created in the throw in the direction you want it to go? Thanks for any feedback you give, and keep up the fantastic work.
I'm curious to see what you're going to say.
I would say you definitely don't let it go. For me personally, I've found that letting it come out of your hand on its own is more accurate. The one thing I would say, because you definitely want to grip it tight and like have, like he's saying, that energy rip it out. And if you hit the correct like hit point or release point, it's going to come out where in the general vicinity of where you want it to go. One thing that will hinder that is like a grip error. So for me to have a better release, I've found like not using a power grip is beneficial. If all of your fingers are tucked into the rim super tight, you're more likely to hang on at least with one finger or two fingers that won't come off at the right time. So I'd like to grip it tight, but have my fingers on the flight plate, but still close to the rim so that you still get that power, but it's more easy to control as far as the release timing.
Now, Tina, wouldn't you agree? Because I've heard some people actually say, and I think it was Valerie Jenkins, that's why you hear the term snap, because the disc is literally ripping out of your hand, so your two fingers are snapping together.
Yeah, and if you see pictures of a lot of the top pros, they all have their fist still clenched after the disc is out of their hand, and that's because they're using that force to come out. And I think it creates more consistencies too, because you're not having to rely on when you let go. It's such a fast motion. Having your arm and your hand aimed in the right spot and letting the disc rip out, it creates more spin too. And
yeah, I mean, if you open your hand, all that energy just comes out and it's not even spinning.
Right. I agree.
Absolutely. All right, next one comes from Kevin. Hey, Disc Golf Answer Man. So I was wondering what your guys' take on the new DGI agency. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's a new agency just maybe about a month or so ago. It's an agency that's trying to get outside companies to sponsor events and players. There's a bit of a controversy. If you want to look it up, you can go. I think on Ulti World has an article on it. And I think they dropped the I, and they're now just called DG Agency. Anyway, it's perfect because Paige is actually working with them, right, on some stuff. So Kevin's questions, I know this will free up the pros to focus more on playing golf and the agent focusing on the business aspect of the game. I think in the long run, it will be good for the sport. However, I also see some downsides as well, such as the players becoming less visible via clinics or appearances without a payment toward the DG group. Just want to know your guys' thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on that, Paige?
That second part is absolutely false. And I think that's just, people don't know the ins and outs of my contract with DD or my contract with Whale Sax or, my contract with the DG group. So to clear up any negative connotations, it does not affect any sort of appearances, clinics, demonstrations, anything like that. This is strictly, and it doesn't interfere with any of my current sponsors, DD, Whale Sax, Hum, any of that. It's just strictly to get outside sponsors in disc golf for me personally and for the sport in general. So I personally, and I think everybody should think nothing but positive of it. if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but there's not going to be any negative. They're going out to try to grow disc golf and get outside sponsors and companies involved in. I'm not sure how much I can really say right now, but there's about 14 very, very, very positive companies that have been being talked to.
Yeah, contacted about it.
Yes.
Sure.
Big companies as well. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's not just player based, it's the sport in general, tournaments. And
Yeah, and they're working with the GBO. So yeah, it's tournaments, it's media, it's companies, it's players, it's everything. It's just we're a tight knit group, the disc golf community, and so we're just trying to make that group bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
And and this is just my take on it. My perspective is that disc golf is such we grow via word of mouth, via social media and stuff like that. That when we heard about this group, we're not going to hear a lot from this group because they're not wanting to be up front. They're wanting to be behind the scenes and working the stuff. So even though they're working with Glass One Open, you're not going to see like the DG agency course or anything like that. No, they're going to like Paige said, they're going to talk to some people, try to get interest in it. And then once they do, then they approach us and see what can be worked out. Even though you may have not heard a lot of what's happening from them,
that's the point.
I don't. Yeah, that's the point. I don't follow him on Facebook.
He didn't even want to make like any press releases because it's not about him or any of the people behind the scenes. And so, yeah, it's just to grow disc golf, and DD is a huge supporter of that. Grow disc golf day, and absolutely, we all want it to grow.
All right, next one comes from Estevan.
Esteban.
Or that, but it's a V. It doesn't have a PH.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. Estevan. Anyway, he says, in a recent league round, a guy I was playing against hit back-to-back birds on holes 16 and 17. I was playing a great round, but wasn't sure where our score stood. Wanting to win tags, I chased a death putt bird that turned into a 4. After round, I realized if I had parred out, I would have won. I enjoy knowing the score as we play so I can make better decisions in close games. Knowing doesn't bother me, but I wasn't keeping score and didn't ask. Would you guys ask for the score, or do you even want to know?
I absolutely would.
Paige is better under pressure than I am, so I think sometimes I struggle more if I do know the score. But in that scenario, if you were thinking about it, man, if I make this birdie, that might make me win, then you probably need to know the score. If you're really that close, definitely check if that's going to make a difference in your decision making. And in that case, all you had to do was lay it up. So that would have been the right decision.
Yeah, but I think too, like, that's hindsight and things change.
Yeah.
Like, for example, for me, comes to mind Memorial. The second to last hole, Lisa could have won if she made this putt, but she laid it up. But she didn't know that. Right. So, and it also changes the outcome, especially when it's kind of like he's playing heads up with this player, Esteban, if he makes that putt, maybe player B misses or maybe he makes it as well. And you needed better than a par. So things always change. And I think anytime you have the ability to know what to shoot for, even if you don't succeed, you can get better at that pressure feeling because that's going to happen at every tournament.
Yeah. Absolutely. Next one is from Chris. All right, this is a long one, so
okay,
might grab that kombucha and take a few sips because this will be wild. Anyway, Chris says, been listening to you guys for a few months now, and I'm really enjoying the podcast. Great show. I have a question about distance. When throwing for max power, I can throw putters 300 feet. Mid-ranges 320 to 340, and fairway drivers 360 to 380. I can get my 9 and 10 speed drivers in the 400-foot range pretty consistently. Unfortunately, that seems to be about my max consistent distance. I have tried drivers over 10 speed, and unless I get lucky, I have a hard time throwing them any further than my 9 and 10 speed drivers. Is this a problem with my form or arm speed? I'm happy with my distance, but just curious what you think may be causing this. I feel like my max distance should be longer if I can throw a mid 340 feet. Thanks for taking the time to read this. I also forgot to add that I use a modified fan grip for everything. I do get some more power with the power grip, but it's not worth the loss in control for me.
I would say it's easier to throw slower speeds for me personally, but I think it translates to everyone. It's easier to throw slower speeds farther because you're using the glide to your advantage. So whenever you're throwing a higher speed disc, it wants to get to the ground quicker. It wants to hyzer out. And so I don't think it's abnormal at all that you're throwing these discs, farther than you think you should be throwing your drivers comparatively. So I think with the driver, maybe just go a little more understable so you get that full S, and it'll stay in the air longer. So if what was the mid he said he was throwing? Did he specify?
No, he didn't.
Yeah, so the same type of stability on the mid range, go for that in the driver, so that you can throw it with the same angle, just tone it back a tiny bit.
Gotcha.
That was going to be my thought, was it could be an angles thing too, but definitely like an escape for me goes further than a trespass often because of the glide.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had to get over that concept of, oh, it's a distance driver, so I should be throwing this. Well, my escape goes forever because it glides forever. So it really does. I mean, maybe if you get the right angles on an overstable distance driver, you can get some more distance, but if it's easy for you to throw a mid-range that far, then that's not a problem, right?
Yeah, you have to work the angles a lot more on a driver for sure. The mid, it just, when it loses speed, it just continues gliding until it gets to the ground. But the driver, when it loses speed, straight to the left and tries to start skipping.
Gotcha. Let's see. This one might be good for Tina, based on what's going on with your shoulder and your switching arms.
Okay.
Barrett asks, I've been trying to learn a forehand for the past 3 months, and it's coming along okay. I thought to myself, what if I just learned backhand for both arms? This could be easier than the majority for me since I'm mixed-handed. I eat and write left-handed and play all sports as a righty. Would this be a bad idea? I do understand there could be situations also where I may have to actually utilize my forehand, so I plan to keep that in mind. Thanks, guys. You're the bomb.
Sweet.
So the reason I said this about Tina is that because of her shoulder injury, she's been playing some events with the opposite hand.
I wouldn't call them events, but rounds for sure.
Rounds, there we go. Okay, so she's playing some round. So
I wish I could play a round like intermediate lefty, but I'd have to find something unsanctioned because that would kill my rating. Yep. And I don't think I can play intermediate anymore. It's definitely an option. There are certainly times in which a right hand forehand shot would be better than a left hand backhand shot, but specifically I'm thinking in the woods. But learning left-handed has taught me a lot. And once you have the basics down for your right side, you can learn your left side a lot faster because you already understand nose angles and arm speed and where your feet should be. You're not learning completely from the bottom. You actually have some knowledge and can apply it to your left hand. So definitely try it, but I always encourage learning sidearm no matter what. I think it's super useful to have both tools.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Next one comes from Corey. Hey, Disc Golf Answer crew. I have a question. When straddle putting, does one of your feet have to be within the area designated as the lie, or can the center of your body be over the lie?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get what he's saying. Yeah, definitely. One of your feet does have to be behind the disc, but now you get 4 inches on either side, so you can kind of play with that a little bit. But yeah, 1 foot definitely has to be behind the disc.
Excellent. Next, I say that a lot. Excellent. Anyway,
your supporting point has to be behind the lie, because it could be your knee.
It could be your knee.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know if it could be your hand. I guess in that.
I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can the hand be? Okay.
Huh. Thanks, Danny.
We'll stick with hand. So next one comes from Seth. Hey guys, so of the former world champions in the MPO division who are not currently traveling as much and are nearing or are already masters age, who would you pick as the favorite to win if they were to somehow get together and play against each other? I'm guessing you might pick a certain unnamed 2010 world champion, but who would be your next in line? Or if Eric is there, who do you think would be the toughest to beat? Schultz, Felberg, Jenkins, Climo, or maybe someone I'm forgetting?
Oh, wow. They have like multiple choice. For what? For this coming Worlds? Or just in general, basically?
Just in general, if they all played.
Well, I think present on my mind is this year's Masters Worlds, I guess.
Yeah, how do you think that's going to work out?
I think I'll obviously have to say Eric. He's from Kansas.
Right.
He's fresh and he's very, very motivated. But maybe like Johnny he's not a.
He doesn't play Masters that much.
Yeah, but for Worlds,
I bet you he'll play.
I bet he will.
Yeah.
I bet he
might
will.
play both.
So I would say Johnny.
Johnny's always up there every tournament.
Every time. So is Climo though. Really.
Is he still playing?
Who?
I think he plays the big ones.
Okay.
I think he plays the big ones, but I haven't seen him in a while either. Yeah, I would say Johnny or Emac, really.
Next one is from that one we already did. Jared. I live in New Jersey and I am happy. Whoa. And I am, whoa.
Good for you, Jared.
Yeah. I can't read your sentence. Sorry, Jared. Happy to see more disc golf courses popping up around me. I recently came across an article on the local news website about how the installation of disc golf course is being protested by a group called the Friends of Garrett. Have you heard of anything like this?
No.
I know that in certain cities, like if it's I haven't heard of that specific one, but I've heard in certain cities when they're trying to put a course in and there's a walking path, like some other groups of people that are avid walkers might not want to do it, or actually in Plano where I live, they're trying to get 2 18-hole like championship level courses put in, but it's currently on a ball golf course, but it's going out of business, but they're trying to keep it a ball golf course. But I think my best piece of advice is just go to the city or whatever meetings they're having. They're definitely having them. So just try to find out when and where they are and go there. And with a good attitude, definitely don't get too like defensive over disc golf, but just kind of let them know like how many benefits it has and it's good for the community.
Excellent. Next one is from Concerned.
Okay.
Name.
Let's set the scene. A course that is well known for having drug abusers, drug sales, and gang activity on the course itself and surrounding area, including shootings during the tournament. Whoa.
Jeez,
wow.
Louise.
Tons of uncapped used needles littered across the fairways and in the woods.
Gosh.
The course is no longer used by local tournaments due to its issues. No help from city or local PDs. Should this type of course be used for a large tournament such as AM Worlds? What would you say to the TD? Is this okay? Is this a for real incident?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Where's AM Worlds again? That's
Charlotte this year coming up.
Is there a course that he's maybe referring to?
I don't know. I mean, the one that I started thinking of back in the day, I played Cliff Drive in Kansas City, and it was pretty rough.
I've heard about that. That was actually the first thing I was going to say. Was there's
really?
one in Kansas City that I've heard has a really bad reputation.
But I mean, we still held a tournament there, and there's work days. I think that's something huge about disc golfers too, is like the community work days. You know, if that's a real issue and you already know you have a world championship there, maybe just do a couple work days of going and cleaning it up and just showing that it's not necessarily disc golfers. I don't think. Like,
yeah.
The cleaner and more busy it is by good people, you know, good disc golfers, good community members, stuff like that, the less trash you're going to have at your course. So maybe a work party sounds like a great idea. Maybe
and
just get some cops on the scene.
Yeah.
I know you said they're not really helping, but if you're running a big event.
Obviously, I'm not. If he's describing a real place, which I'm sure he's trying to do, whoever this Concerned is, we don't know the whole story, so we don't know. I mean, I can't imagine police have said, "Oh, we give up. You guys do whatever the heck you want to do around here. Break all the laws. You're fine." I mean, I don't know that's. I can't imagine that's happening.
Right.
Now, whether there just doesn't feel like there's much of a police presence, or maybe something personally happened to you that made you mad at a cop or like police and think that they're not doing anything. But I imagine if you maybe reached out and told them your concerns, maybe they would try to do something, maybe some kind of neighborhood watch or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. Next one is from Spencer in Manhattan, Kansas. Hey, guys, when I'm on the putting green, I usually get 2 results. I will have streaks where it feels great and it's coming out of my hand clean, but sometimes it will get caught on my index finger and pulls way right and comes out wobbly. I put my index finger on the rim of my disc and have it slightly curled under the top joint. Is there any grip change you guys can suggest to prevent this or limit this? For reference, I spin putt pretty similar to Eric.
I putt with my finger on the rim completely, not tucked under. So maybe try that out, and it still gets me a lot of spin, but I won't have like any part of my finger on the rim, so it won't catch it all. So maybe try that out. Be my suggestion.
I putt the same way you do, so I'm not sure.
Alrighty then. Let's see. Next one.
Not Paige, Mr. Listener.
Mr. Listener, Mr. Spencer from Manhattan, Kansas.
Sorry.
Contabella has the next question. Contabella. Huh. Hey guys, let's talk about numbers. Next question. No.
Let's not.
Who do you think is, oh no, this isn't flight numbers. Who do you think is the best third disc golfer in the world right now? Wysocki and Macbeth are obviously tied for the number one spot. And based on PDJ power rankings, Simon Lizotte and Nate Sexton are the most obvious contenders. What do you think?
Eric Oakley.
Number wise, maybe not Eric, but I truly, truly believe that statement. But number wise, it's hard for me to say Simon or Eagle because they're just so hit or miss. They
can kill it one weekend and then
their mental games are not there. And clearly Paul and Ricky have that locked down. I would say maybe James Conrad, actually. Or Bradley Williams.
Bradley Williams.
That's
he's an amazing golfer and has crazy good mental game.
But numbers wise, I guess it has to be Simon.
According to PDJ, world rankings is Paul Macbeth, Wysocki tied for first. Doss is third. Sexton is fourth. Lizotte is fifth. Dickerson is...
Chris Dickerson. Absolutely, hands down. Done. Forgot about him for about 4 seconds, but you definitely can't do that. He's won every tournament he's played. He's won his past 14 tournaments.
Beat him.
Yes. He's won 13 of his 14 past tournaments. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And making it look easy.
Caleb asks, during a casual round, a friend tried a forehand and sawed it off into a group of trees. He then forehanded it again, but hit one of the trees that was about 2 feet in front of him. The disc bounced off the tree straight back at his stomach. His reflexes made him catch the disc. Since it was casual, we laughed and he threw it again. But just curious, what would have been the ruling if it was a tournament and this occurred? Also share some crazy rare situations you've seen while playing disc golf.
Wow.
What would happen?
So if you interfere with your own disc, even if it's unintentional, I believe it's a stroke penalty.
Really?
Pretty positive.
Even if it's
I got that question wrong on the exam because I put it's a warning because it unintentional. I thought it was a warning, but I got that one wrong and I read the correct description and it said it's a stroke and play it as it lies, but it's a stroke. So
wow.
I know it's different for if you hit a dog or
it is play it as it lies though.
Mm-hmm.
So
I actually saw this happen at women's. It was like a B tier or something in Ohio, and she was putting on like a raised basket, and it hit off the top nub and came right back at her, and she caught it and then let go of it.
Same
real quick.
thing with catching it. That's crazy.
But reflexes,
what'd you guys?
It's coming right back at you.
Well, sure. What did they do for it?
I think they were intermediate or something. I don't think they did anything.
But also that was last year, so that's before the rule change.
Oh, okay.
There's been quite a few
lots of rule changes.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I don't think they did anything. I just saw it happen.
Anything weird like that happen that you can remember, Paige?
Didn't
have to be the same, but just something that.
Right. No, I've seen lots of people get in the way of discs, and it's just such a freak thing. You never really know what to do, and it's always been different rules. But I think, if I remember right, something like that happened at the Memorial this year. But
was somebody's bag or somebody's
specifically enough? Yeah, a bag, and they didn't move it. Yeah.
No, you're not talking about the water bottle, right?
No, what's the
James Conrad, right?
You know where? He was. I can't remember. He was throwing it and it went out. It was out of bounds over the sidewalk,
and
it was going to skip back in bounds. And someone had a Nalgene bottle. It looked like a Nalgene, and it hit the Nalgene bottle, and that prevented it from going back in.
A guy from Dallas.
That's happened.
It was at Vista.
Oh, that's happened so many times to me at Memorial. On hole 18 where there's just dogs and people, and I put dogs and all kinds of stuff. Well, actually, something that just came in my mind one year at the European Open, On the last hole, there's like this metal fence, and people stand just behind it. And it shouldn't be in the way for most people, but lefties, they didn't account for lefties. So Devin Owens was throwing this lefty hyzer up through the green, and not sure if it was going to be in bounds or safe or what, but it was raining also. And so there was umbrellas galore, and they saw it coming, and everyone, 4, 4, 4, everybody's trying to move. And this guy just lifts his umbrella up. It bounces off the top of the umbrella, and since it's like wet, also it like ramped it perfectly and just parked it. He didn't even have to putt. He just dropped it right in.
So it was to his advantage.
Oh, I think so. I mean, he might have still gotten the birdie or par or whatever it was, but yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Umbrella. Boy.
Yeah,
it was like a perfect, like, it was like a water slide.
The thing with the James Conrad at the Vista course at the Memorial is that the people moved out of the way to get out of the way of the disc, but they left the Nalgene bottle there.
Oh.
And so it's like, oh, everybody moved so it could do what it needed to do, but then the bottle is what stopped it. No one moved.
And that also just happened at Waco, like with Nate going into the playoff with Germ. Yeah.
It could have.
It happens. It happens. All right, next one is from Patrick. Hey guys, thank you for taking my question. I'm currently using a Saint for all of my drives and can throw it 300 to 325 consistently. I'm wanting to learn how to throw an Anheuser Flex to get some extra distance when the scenario presents itself. I bag 4 different Saints with different stability. My question is, should I use one of my Saints? If so, which one? Or should I buy a different disc altogether with relative speed? Thanks again, and keep those podcasts going.
Convict.
Oh, Convict.
Of course.
No, Anheuser Flex, I would say more an Escape, or even the new Maverick that's coming out. But if you want it to flex back, I would lean more towards the Escape.
They've got some good finish, but lots of glide. You'll get a lot of distance out of them.
And if that's a little bit too understable, try a Moonshine Escape. Zach throws that very, very well. And he throws it on flex shots as well. It holds the line when you turn it. And since it's Moonshine and it's our most overstable plastic, it'll hyzer back at the end. And, if you wanted to stick with your Saints, I don't really have a way to answer which one of the 4 you should use, because I don't know the...
Probably the most stable one.
Yeah, I would definitely say that if you want it to flex back. But
so speaking of the Maverick, I think you said you still needed to throw it, Tina, right?
Yeah, without my righty power, it's kind of hard to tell what it's going to do.
Have you thrown it yet a lot, or?
I threw it when we went to Cottonwood Falls and did that like casual round, but only maybe 3 or 4 times.
Oh, that was like
in November.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The prototypes had just come in.
Okay, but not since then much.
No.
Oh, okay.
I just got them actually
last weekend.
At Waco, right?
Yep.
The 2. Okay. I was just curious your opinion on them as of yet.
Eric surprisingly likes them. I didn't think with his arm speed that they'd work for him, but he's considering bagging one.
Really? I bought 2 of the special edition ones at the store, and I love them. I think they're so good.
Yeah.
Next one is from #GrowTheSport.
Cool.
Hello, Disc Golf Answer Man. This question has been on my mind for years. When disc golf companies come up with an idea to run big events such as Next Gen, US Match Play, etc., what is the deciding factor for... Oh, here we go. Perfect timing. What is the deciding factor for not having a women's division? I understand the field size wouldn't be as big, thus the prize wouldn't be as big either, but I think it's a great way to grow the sport, especially for us women. What do you think, women?
Doug, great question. Why do we not have women's?
I don't know. I'd have to ask Doug, I guess.
I actually didn't know that Match Play didn't have
I just heard that about 2 weeks ago, and I was not stoked.
I knew that Next Gen didn't in the beginning, but I was told they were going to add one. Apparently they did not.
It makes more sense with the Match Play that they wouldn't, because, it's already hard to fill a bracket. But the Next Gen, it's open, it's not that they're matching up against each other. So it seems like, but I think both should have it. Absolutely. At least have the option. If they don't fill it, they don't fill it. But I don't see the harm in having it at all.
I don't know. I don't run enough events to know. We can talk numbers, and we can if you want. But like the GBO, this 2018 Glass One Open is looking to be the largest women's field as far as all the divisions, right? So, which is a great thing. However, the last time we did an events update, we actually had to close in the division. I think it was FP40 because not enough women signed up.
Yeah.
And
but at least have the option and
right. But I guess what I'm the point of that, and I know it's anecdotal to have just one event, but it seems to be a trend that, we get emails and messages. People say, why did you close the female event? Why did you do that? Why don't you offer it? Well, here we offered it and we don't have enough interest to have that division. So it's a very challenging game to play, to promote the women's side of things, but then to have then to be able to actually do it.
But you don't know what kind of interest you're going to get until.
Yeah, but we did offer it.
Right. And so that's the right way to handle it in my mind.
Right.
So, but they just for the match play in the next gen, they never even
offer it. That's true. That's a good point. But that's a Doug question. So
we're coming for you, Doug.
We'll have to yell at Doug after this. So. All right. Next one comes from, I should have had it queued up, Max. Sometimes when I drive in front of a crowd, I get nervous, then I completely mess it up. What could I do to keep my throw a good distance throw? So what do you do when there's the big crowd and they got the cameras on you?
It's definitely
Bobby's behind you taking a picture.
Yeah, Bobby ruins everything. It's definitely something you can get used to. I absolutely struggled with that when I first started playing in front of cameras and all that. But now I don't really even think about it. I still get kind of jitters on the first hole of a big tournament just because I'm excited and you don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen. So play more tournaments and try to put yourself in that situation more often. And I know that doesn't sound super easy, but my other advice is listen to some music in between shots. It kind of lets me get out of that nervousness and just have a good time. I prefer 70s funk. It's groovy. It's funny. I can't take myself too seriously. So I'm just there having a good time and it feels more casual. Takes that stress off.
Is it safe to say that I think people like Max or anybody have to realize that no matter who they are, they still get nervous?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, I would imagine like Paul and Ricky and you, Paige, that, we typically find you guys on the lead card, so you have the big crowds. You get just as nervous.
Mm-hmm. I try to just get tunnel vision on the basket. I don't even try to like look behind me.
Yeah.
And if I do, I'm not like looking at the faces, know. It they're watching you whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
So whether someone's on a backup on the next fairway over, they're looking at you, or a camera with 50 people are watching, or however many people.
Yeah.
But just try not to focus on it. Focus on the shot at hand and the basket and where you want your disc to land.
And I think I can picture in my head that to be true for you, and that you're so focused, because I can remember times that I'm filming you and it'll be like the 5th or 6th hole, and you'll look at me like, oh, you're here.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're here. And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, I've been here for 4 or 5 holes. Not like in a bad way, but that makes me, when you say I'm so focused that I tune everything out, that's true, because you're so tuned out that it's like, oh, you're here. And so you've tuned so much out that anyway, I think that's, so yeah, you've got to realize that everybody gets nervous. Everybody does that, and that it's okay. And then maybe find your thing. I know some people like AJ Risley was playing Sudoku on his phone. I know Katrina Allen plays games on her phone. So maybe find that thing that kind of gets you out of being nervous while you're in the middle of a big throw. Of course, don't be playing Sudoku while you're throwing, but maybe right before you throw. Next question comes from, that is the same question, Julie, the annoying Australian. Okay. Hey, hello, Disc Golf Answering Crew. I love the Pine from last year's Trilogy Challenge, but I still haven't tried the EMAC Truth. I did mention I was annoying. That would be annoying for Eric, I was supposed not to. EMAC Truth. But anyway, how much overlap in flight as well as field does the Pine and the EMAC Truth have? Thanks for the amazing podcast, which I can totally laugh my head off to. Have you guys thrown the Pine?
I have.
Okay.
Is asking how it's compared to the EMAC?
To the EMAC Truth, yeah.
It's
how much overlap in flight between the two? I don't know.
In my opinion, very little.
Yeah.
The Pine to me is much more overstable. A little more comparable to the Verdict, but maybe even more stable than a Verdict, but not much. My Emacs pop up, flex, and finish. My Verdicts do a little bit, but they finish quite a bit harder and quite a bit faster, if that makes sense.
No, when you say...
I love them both. I bag both an Emac and a Verdict. The Pine was more stable than I needed. Just more than a Verdict.
Now, when you say finish, so you say it finishes, you mean it just kind of, it doesn't really fade hard to the left? Doesn't turn to the left at the end? Or what do you think? Because you said it just finishes.
The Emac, yeah, but I think she was saying the Pine.
Sorry. Okay. My Emac will finish left.
There you go. Okay.
Gently.
Yeah.
My Verdict finish left harder.
Okay.
And the Pine finishes left quite hard. Is that helpful?
I think
sorry.
so. I think that's okay.
It all makes sense in my head, but I realize I should
next one
explain
is
it better.
next one's from Keeping It Real. Oh, what's this one going to be about?
Is it Bobby Brown?
How come you're punishing those of us who listen on the website?
What does that mean?
You're releasing some interviews and casts about the surveys only on apps and other websites. How come just listening on the website is not enough for you? At work, I can only get to the Disc Golf Answering website to listen, and that's where I'm able to listen to it. But I feel like I'm not getting the full range when you release some podcasts elsewhere and nowhere else.
Questions for Bobby.
He's just keeping it real. So what he's talking about is like the regular episodes. I release it on iTunes, on Spotify, on Google Play, and all kinds of different places. But when I do little things like player interviews or event updates and stuff like that, I don't put it on the website. I only release it through the normal.
Right.
So here's the thing, Mr. Keep It Real. I'm trying to produce a lot of content, and producing a lot of content takes up a lot of time. So I apologize if that feels short-sighted by not putting it out on the website. However, I'm trying to have a process where I record, edit it, push it out, and then I'm on to the next project. I'm on to the next thing of producing content. And if I'm trying to find this particular place to tell you that I've tried to combat that by having this on. When I upload this and publish it, it shoots it straight out to my Facebook page, shoots it straight out to Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Overcast, Avantcast, Google Play, Stitcher.
Wow.
That's a few.
Oh, you're on Stitcher? I just downloaded that. Cool.
And so my thinking is some of those you've got to be able to listen to. But I tell you what, if you hear this question and if that long list I just gave you, you are unable to listen to, then let me know and I'll see about taking the time of putting it on the website as well. But I got to imagine some of those you're able to listen to. And I believe we don't put those episodes on YouTube. Anyway, let me know if none of those work for you. Next question comes from Michael. Hi, I'm just getting started into tournaments and I would like y'all's advice on something I'm struggling with. I can backhand 375 to 400 and forehand 350, and I make a good percentage of my putts within the circle. I've always played in the rec division.
Move up.
And have yet to win a tournament. It always seems like there is always those one or two guys who are just in a different level than the rest of us. Is this a normal thing to happen, or should I just go ahead and move up to intermediate?
I would say lower your expectations. Like if you're sitting here telling us all these things, that sounds like before you said rec, I was thinking you were a higher level advanced player.
Yeah.
So maybe you're trying too hard or putting too much pressure on yourself.
Or maybe you have a fellow bagger in your neighborhood.
That's what I was thinking. That all of y'all need to move up.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with moving up a division. You learn more from better players. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely. And I think golf's a lot to do with shot selection and like mental game too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not all about skill. So I mean, if you surround yourself with people that do make better choices on the course, that would help.
That. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next one is from Glenn. I've been playing disc golf on and off for years, but only recently have I started playing seriously. I'm 54 and have played in a few tournaments in the intermediate division and usually finish in the middle of the pack. I feel younger than I am. On a short course, I may even get on the occasional lead card, but since I've never won in that division, if it was you, would you stay? Oh, another one.
Yeah.
Would you stay in intermediate or try to compete with the young guns or play in the Masters or Grandmasters division?
You got options, it sounds like.
I think that's the beauty of being, I mean, just like Johnny, we were talking earlier about Johnny McRae. That's kind of the beauty. He can play in the Masters, but if it's more beneficial for him to play in Open, he can.
Mm-hmm.
So why not take advantage of the situation?
Yeah, I would say try them all and see which little niche you fall into, like what feels the best to you, and not necessarily what you have the most success in, but what challenges you.
Next one is from Larry. What is the difference between the sheriff and the deputy?
Oh,
As my next question's the difference between the judge and the marshal. Whoa, okay. First of all, the sheriff and the deputy are two completely different tools in the bag. Of course, the sheriff is a distance driver, whereas a deputy is a putter.
Maybe they meant like, I don't know.
Before you finished that question, I thought he was going to say ballista.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it was a typo, but if it was not, a sheriff is one of my max range drivers in my bag, and my deputy is my putter. So quite the difference, but the names are similar. So maybe that's
it.
If you meant to say ballista, I would say that at least the Ballista Pro. The Sheriff flips a little bit quicker into the flight, and the Ballista Pro can handle a lot more torque and finishes quite a bit more overstable. So I'm going to assume that that's what you meant, seeing as the Ballista Pro just came out, and they are supposed to be quite similar. And then what was the other one?
The other one is the difference between the judge and the marshal.
Oh, judge and the marshal. I used to throw the judge, but it was short-lived. It kind of varied a little bit more in the air. And the marshal, for me, it's just very, very, very true to its flight. It just flies so straight. And Tina and I both bag actually the exact same marshal.
Yeah, we throw them.
And anytime either of us get it in our hand, I know Tina's like, oh, my marshal, my marshal, my marshal. It just feels so comfortable coming out, and you know when you messed up because you released it wrong. It's just so straight.
I'll add for the marshal too, compared to the judge, the marshal's got more stability and a micro bead. The judge has a little bit bigger bead, and I'd say is a little more of a straight flyer. If you're looking for putting versus throwing, it's really just about feel, and the judge is going to have a little less finish, a little less fade on it than the marshal.
Next one is from Ole Andre. Ole. Anyway, hey, Disc Golf Answer crew. I have a question about rim size. I currently throw a Renegade and a Turn as my distance drivers. I'm considering getting a Trespass, but I'm afraid the rim's too wide. I used to have a Destroyer in my bag, but the rim was too wide for my hand. How is the rim on a Trespass? Is it as wide as a Destroyer?
No. I love the Trespass. I have tiny hands. I have a hard time with a Sheriff because my hands are so small. And like bigger, wider rim distance drivers, even the Ballista, I just can't control it as well because the rim is so big. But the Trespass is my go-to distance driver. And it fits in my hand almost like a fairway driver. It feels really good. It's very similar to a Renegade, just a little bit wider, but not much. Mm-hmm. I'd definitely say try it. It's not going to be like a Destroyer. It's going to be a little less, I guess it depends on the run, but a little less stable than a Destroyer, but really workable. My favorite disc. Bobby's too. One of them.
The Trespass? Yes. I have three different I have an Air Trespass, a really old beat-in Biofusion Trespass, and then we had that real creamy pink and white hybrid Trespass. Mm-hmm. I have those, and I really like them.
And it doesn't hurt to try them too. Like we have a buyback program, so
sure.
Go check out one of your local dealers, and if you don't like it, return it.
Now we talked about rim size, and you talked about the Sheriff is too big of a rim size for you, right?
Yeah, I like it. It's just finicky for me.
I kind of am that too with the Sheriff, but I have there's certain shots that I really like the Sheriff for. Have you thrown the Captain yet?
Yes.
How does the rim feel with the captain?
It's similar, but from what I've learned from the captain so far, and I haven't thrown it nearly as much as I've thrown a sheriff or a trespass, so I still have to do some work with it, but it works better for me than a sheriff does. I'm not sure if that's because it's a little more user-friendly, but the sheriff, I can either hit it too hard or not hard enough, and it'll be super overstable or super understable. Like, they're really finicky for me. But the captain seems to kind of do the same thing every time I throw it.
Right. You haven't really thrown the captain much, have you?
Yeah, again, I threw it at Cottonwood Falls.
Yeah,
I would say
no,
it's kind of like closer to a ballista, a normal ballista, than a sheriff. For me, I had issues with it throwing it high, but if I was throwing it like a golf shot, it was very consistent on the release, like Tina was saying. But for a sheriff, I find more consistency, like throwing it high, turned over, like distant shots.
Gotcha. All right, last question for this episode is from Tiberius. Greetings, Disc Golf Answer Man. I just picked up a Lucid Sheriff and a Lucid Trespass. How interesting to try out. But I can't seem to get a good S-curve from them. They both fly pretty straight. Would I be better off using a Fusion or a Biofusion, or would you suggest finding a mold with a little less stability?
He can't get a full flight and he wants less stability? I would say to go with more stability so that you can turn it and it'll turn right and then it'll hyzer back left at the end. For me, I don't get a lot of full flights with the Sheriff as well because, like we were just talking about, it's finicky and sometimes it doesn't come back. I would say try a Lucid Trespass because they have a little more stability to them.
Yeah, and once they beat into their glide kind of takes over. So they're still going to come back, but they like to fight. They like to fight and stay in the air longer and will fade out. Some of the fusion ones and biofusion ones, as they beat up, they're going to stay to the right longer and finish while they're still in their right. So they're not going to get their full flight out of them.
So when this brought up interesting because, the whole jargon of stable. So if I say to you, Tina, that disc is stable. What is it doing for you?
Straight. So like my Furies are straight.
So for you, when you're saying
straight, escapes are straight.
Is that the same for you?
That's what it's supposed to be. But it's kind of over time transformed into, it means it's overstable.
Right. Seems like overstable and stable.
I think people just shorten overstable to stable. But yeah, it is confusing. But I think the majority of disc golfers say stable for overstable.
Yeah.
And
and that's what I meant. Like,
no, I was just curious. It just brought up
end, meaning like, their overstability kicks
in.
I
think what happens a lot of times is but the thing is that people will hear Oakley or McCabe say that was stable. But if I were to pick it up, it would be overstable.
Right.
And I think you have to kind of, and that's what we try to combat with videos and stuff we do, is that a lot of people follow the big names and they see, Macbeth or Wysocki throwing something, and then they describe it as such a stable flight. They get confused, or they don't realize that for them, it's actually going to be an overstable flight for them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, ladies, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and answer some questions. I know you've got a lot of other things going on for today and the whole week, so we'll let you get to it. Is there anything you'd like to make sure people know about what you're doing and what you got going on? I know, Tina, you've got some bag of tricks going on.
Yeah, well, Eric does. Kansas City. When are you releasing this? Soon?
Probably by the end of the week it will be out. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so that works.
Yeah.
Eric is running a bag of tricks on Sunday, April Fool's Day 1st in Kansas City at Waterworks.
But it ain't no joke.
Thank you.
It's a real thing. But Paige and I are going to Nantucket to make some wedding plans.
Oh, tell us about that. How's that going?
It's going to be very cold, probably snowy. But I've never been to Nantucket. Neither has Eric, and we're going to get married there.
Interesting.
So we got to go figure out where to do it and kind of like some of our vendors and all that stuff for the wedding. So
right.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun week though.
Now, what about as far as traveling to some of the bigger tournaments? What do you got coming up as far as your schedule?
Eric's going to Jonesboro. Paige and I are going to jump in I guess, in the middle of it after it started. And then Vintage Open is after that, also in Arkansas. And then I believe we're coming straight back this way.
For GBO?
For another event in Kansas City and GBO.
Okay.
We're doing a marksman
that's right.
thing in, I think, also at Waterworks.
Yeah.
The Launchpad crew.
Nice.
So,
what about you, Paige?
Pretty much the same schedule. Nantucket, and then getting to Jonesboro to cheer on the other fellow Team DD members, and playing Vintage. And then I'm not sure what I'm doing the week y'all are doing the Marksman League. I might just come back here, but yeah. And then GBO time.
Biggest week of the year.
Very cool. All right. Again, thanks for stopping by, ladies, and thanks to our listeners. Keep sending those questions. We're trying to get through all these questions that are on the Google Forms, and we're getting through a little bit of them. Looks like we have still 66 of them left.
Oh, wow. We got through a bunch, though.
Yeah, we got through a bunch.
You said 90?
Yeah. So we got through, but some of them I read, and they were very, very similar to other questions that we've answered. So I just deleted them. One guy even asked about, should the disc rip out of my hand or what? So it was so similar to the other one.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, guys. Well, have a good rest of the week.
Thanks.